Please remember to subscribe. It's just one click for you, but it helps me a lot creating new videos. Thank you. The economy is crumbling. Stimulus just pushed Fed's balance sheet past $7 trillion for the first time ever, having expanded its balance sheet by over $3 trillion this year alone. But top Fed economist says much more QE needed to offset zero-bound. Without injecting $120 billion in liquidity every month, the stock market will crash. The Fed, which is also buying corporate bonds and junk bond ETFs, remains the first and last line of defense for any equity drawdown. Money creation has to go exponential. Where did all that money go? I don't see any change in business closures, food lines, etc. Sure didn't come down to the people. Likely helped all the banksters put more lobster and Opus One on their table. Something tells me whatever it is, it will benefit them, not us. Yes, all money printed since the 80s has mostly never touched the real economy. It's been kept in bonds maturing for decades. And when the rich sell their bonds, fireworks will go off. Down the drain we go. Exponential debt and languishing growth that was occurring before the pandemic, or else we wouldn't have need QE, which amounts to life support, has doomed this country. We are now being distracted with a media spectacle and a public health crisis to distract from this fact. This is how a zero-taxation economy with rich people and zero rules works. They inflate as a form of taxation. Since there isn't a monetary standard, every penny that they add to the money supply inflates taxes the worker. Since workers aren't being paid more, they ultimately have their wages inflated away. The party is over. Chronic QE was already a lie. But if you keep the interest at zero and keep debasing the currency, what will happen? Inflation. Your buying power will decrease. Then we lose reserve currency status, then, the vultures come in to pick us clean. The Fed is playing a very dangerous game. It is time for tightening and paying down debt for flunky wars and death. They fully intend to keep the lockdowns going indefinitely. They are to cripple the country so they can give it to their globalist masters and their oppressive, totalitarian one-world government. That's part of the plan. Forced vaccinations, cashless society, and the government so far up your butt that it will wave to you every morning while you are brushing your teeth. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to click the like button. As many of you have asked me about where they can buy silver and gold bullion. You will find in the description box the links where you can buy American Silver Eagle, silver bars, and rounds. I highly recommend that you too start stacking some silver bullion for the future. What good does QE do when all the new money creation goes to people who already have, and none of it goes to those who actually need it? The Federal Reserve should start at the bottom and move up. Not start at the top and moving down, but only a little. The rich are just getting richer as the food lines are getting longer and longer and longer. Feed the need, not the greed, Jay. The rich will only save the money or reinvest it, while the poor will actually spend the money on things they need. And this will create more demand and more jobs. All this new money is going to the stock market, inflation. When the stock market collapses, the money disappears, deflation, but stays on the Fed's balance sheet. So what changes as far as money supply? If the money went to the people, it would help the whole economy and still trickle up, but no, they want it all, and they want it now. This way, they can cry for more sooner. They don't want to fix the economy. Operation Zimbabwe continues. Money doesn't actually disappear, some people will just end up with more of it, while others will end up with less of it. But the actual money supply remains unchanged during the transactions. So once the money is created, it is not destroyed in the markets. And all this new money created by the Federal Reserve puts more money into the economy, but when the Fed takes it back by selling treasuries, then it goes back to their balance sheet and is no longer in the economy. Then the money supply decreases. And I can't comment on the Fed's balance sheet since they have two of them. The open one that we are allowed to see, and the secret one that we are not allowed to see. And we can't see it because that is where all of the market manipulations take place. And with the secret books, that is what they will use to collapse the markets when they decide to do so. There is still much more control the Federal Reserve and their international elite masters want to achieve over the world of money. And isn't it nice how the Federal Reserve and our U.S. Treasury have merged? So much so that Biden is looking at having Janet Yellen, a former Federal Reserve chairwoman, as the head of the U.S. Treasury. Complete control over our U.S. finances much? Another big squeeze is coming. Never let a good crisis go to waste. Prepare for bail-ins. The Fed does not need a catalyst, the only thing it needs is an excuse. The excuse will be Biden. They'll spend money and unleash the Kraken. Well, the market collapse is definitely coming as soon as Joe enters the office. That'll be the catalyst, and just like that, your retirement money will be next to nothing. Printing like that only leads to either a crack-up boom or hyperinflation or both. There is no exit. Lehman Bros was the sacrificial lamb in 2008, just an excuse to print more money. I'm okay with all this, provided the Fed can also print food, houses, cars, clothes into existence. The pandemic conveniently gave them the excuse they needed this year to print to oblivion. 2021 could be anything, guaranteed it will be manufactured BS though. At the end of this, your retirement savings won't buy you peanuts, that is the certainty. The crack-up boom we are about to see will make us all Zimbabwean Americans. The Fed is the arsonist and the firefighter. In other words, central banks will henceforth fund the entire sovereign budget deficit, which is what MMT and helicopter money is all about. It's only a matter of time before Jerome Powell will join the club, and we expect that at some point in the next 3 to 4 months, the Fed will announce it too will double its monthly rate of debt purchases. One can argue that the creeping economic shutdowns, first at the state level and soon at the federal, have just one purpose: to catalyze the next crash. And next bailout by the Fed. Is anyone paying attention to this? Is the gigantic tidal wave I see not too far out a figment of my imagination? We have been living with an imminent fiscal crisis since 2008, and the ineffective means to contain it haven't changed. What else did you think the motive for the pandemic psyop was? It's to conceal the fact that nothing the bank cartel has done in the last 12 years has worked. We aren't facing an imminent crisis, we are facing imminent collapse. The bank cartel wants to make damn sure they get their cut before it all goes belly up. Of course, the only source is what wealth the 99% still have. So they proceed to inflate that wealth away. The bank cartel is buying up distressed assets for literally nothing, money they created out of thin air. Fiat currency and debt-based economies always fail. Always. Every time they've been tried. Keep doing the same thing over again and expect different results, Einstein's definition of insanity. Just keep rigging the casino, and nothing else matters. The fact is QE is useless. All it does is create bank reserves. Which is not, despite what the Fed and mainstream media want you to believe, money printing. The Fed does not create money, the banks do, and if the banks don't want to create money through loans because they see too much risk, because they live in the real world, and are happy to sit on the excess reserves, which pay a guaranteed risk-free return, there isn't a thing the Fed can do about it. We are still dealing with, not very well, the effects from GFC1 and the continuation of the same flawed Fed policies, for which the pandemic is providing cover. Will the Fed add more QE? Vaccine hope. Trade hope. Presidential hope. The only guarantees in life are death, taxes, and the Fed continuing to go burr. Anything else is a waste of time. How long can they keep the plates spinning? As long as Netflix is rocking and there is food to be bought with free money. After that, all the bets are off. Why does the Fed need more debt to buy? The answer is liquidity. When loans are created, the money to service, the interest doesn't exist in the world. In theory, when money is spent servicing that debt, it pulls larger and larger portions of currency out of circulation. The Fed can create money through QE, but it remains as excess reserves on the bank's balance sheet until a new loan is created. So really, the inflation will never come the way they want it to until new loans are created, and that ain't happening. They're trying to create liquidity to keep the whole thing from crashing into a deflationary heap. It's a catch-22 for the central bankers. Once you've let a Ponzi scheme in asset prices develop, you have to keep propping it up. When it collapses, it will feed back into the financial system. The more you inflate the bubble, the worse it will be when asset prices do collapse. The poor things just can't win. The central banks are kicking the can down the road for an almighty crash at some time in the future. Things are going to get very nasty at some time in the future, we don't know when that will be. Who cares? As long as it wasn't on my shift. Hopefully, Jerome Powell will be left carrying the can, Janet Yellen. In 2020, the world is a Ponzi scheme of inflated asset prices. The use of neoclassical economics and the belief in free markets made them think that inflated asset prices represented real wealth accumulation. The central banks have to keep pumping in liquidity to stop all the Ponzi schemes from collapsing. When banks have been lending to inflate asset prices, the financial system is in a precarious state and can easily collapse. The central bankers were struggling to keep all these Ponzi schemes going before the pandemic. So this crisis will bring central bank crypto digital controls of everybody that has a dollar, earns a dollar, is on the government dollar tit, and so. Yup, that includes you and me alike. So, this is an opportunity to enter the brave new brave world of digital controls. Are you optimistic of this technocratic fourth revolution coming to humans? It will truly be an out-of-body experience controlled by trustworthy fellow time travelers. Thanks, Billy, your billions were helpful. Double QE in 2021.